hit with the flu the same. It's different. People respond to the flu differently. Some people it wipes them out, and some people they get sick with the flu and in a day they're back. And some people it's a week or more before they just feel like they're not gonna make it. So COVID affects people differently, but in this climate, you have to. I'm hearing more messaging. You have to take care of yourself, and not just physically. You've got to take care of yourself. With 2020 has been a year unlike any other year. So many people have told me I cannot wait. I mean, when Happy New Year rolls around, 2021, if this COVID wasn't here, people would be in the streets. They would be in the streets just waving off 2020. This has been some kind of year. But the awakened blessings have been a love. Just the techniques, the daily techniques, simple things you can do to keep yourself in a good state. And it just takes just a few minutes. And I tell people, you never know what's coming around the corner if you don't practice self-love. Doing at least 3 things a day or more that makes you feel good. Music you listen to that makes you feel good. Some people, it's taking a bubble bath, a nature walk, it's talking to a friend. It's so many different things, but doing at least 3 a day. And there's other things in the book. When something comes around the corner, like a parent passing or a child getting sick or passing, it could take you out if you haven't been in a habit of practicing self-love. I cannot stress that enough. And things like with COVID, you have to practice self-love. So that's what that book is about, and it's nonfiction. It's a short read, and then Love for Over Me is my latest novel.
You know what? Yes, this has not been a best year for everybody else. We have an epidemic and an uprising, months apart from each other, and a lot of craziness going on. And yes, there's not a room for taking care of yourself, especially now when the holiday season is coming up, right, approaching us, and everybody, the city is locking down. It's getting more frustrating as the days go by, the months go by, until, 2021 hits. We need that kind of to self-love, and not only self-love, but to know yourself in the midst of all this chaos that's going around. You seen that was your big inspiration for this book to write on.
Yeah, actually, the book, it didn't come out of, I wasn't focusing, those are good points, and thanks for sharing that. But I wasn't focusing on COVID in particular when I wrote the book. I've experienced myself some things some very difficult challenges throughout my life, and and other people who I've known, and I've just seen if you don't take care of yourself, it's just little things you have to do, and a lot of people don't. Women in particular are bad about that, hopefully getting better, but it's like a woman is the last one on her list that she's going to take care of. So women get run down and tired, including black women. Black women have a reputation of being so strong and not needing anything. No matter what we go through, we just bounce back. But I hear more and more black women saying that's not really true. That we are strong, but we need help. We need care, and people being gentle with us, and being gentle with ourselves, just as well as anybody else. And the cost of not doing that, and the cost of going into abusive relationships, and it's high. It is very high, and I think we get used to it. Sometimes our background, where we grew up, what we've seen in our families for generations, but there is a price to pay for that. There really is. So I'm really encouraged. And again, these techniques are easy. They're not hard, but a lot of people don't even think about these things until maybe you see it in a book or you hear somebody on a stage talking about it and the importance of it. And again, you don't know what's coming around the corner. You don't want your well to be dry and something hard come and it knock you out. So I would really encourage people, even starting now, to do something to be kind to yourself. And sometimes that kindness means you have to tell some people in your life see ya, because they not treating you right, and just keeping in touch with people who do treat you well. You are so important. I cannot stress that enough.
Yes, the value of yourself is much important. And speaking of value of yourself, you said that you were going through some things of writing this book. What things you were going through?
Oh well, my mom passed when I was 7, so I had to learn. I had to learn how to take care of myself, and then we grew up. Me and my siblings grew up in some very, very hard housing projects, and that's a story in and of itself. But you have to learn. People who I've loved who's passed away suddenly, totally unexpected. The Great Recession, that being laid off. I know with this COVID, I have a relative who got laid off during COVID and then recently started back a job, but not a job nowhere near the degree that my relative has. But I got laid off during the Great Recession, and I thank the Lord I have a job now and with my writing, but that Great Recession was tough. I'm telling you. I told somebody recently, I said, that's when I saw homelessness in America become as bad as it is, was during the Great Recession. I never in my life did I see in every American city, I mean from small towns to mid-sized towns to big towns, to, it doesn't matter the racial demographic. There's probably not a city in the United States you could drive through and not see homeless people. Not one. And I had never seen that before. And then the Great Recession came, of course, with the real estate, and people got put out of their homes, and people lost their apartments, and people were sleeping on relative sofas and in people's basements and attics and putting tents out in people's yards. And that's when I saw homelessness really get bad, which I hope with COVID it doesn't double what the recession was. Awful for that homelessness. And the country's never recovered from that. There's still, the homelessness is still bad because of the housing costs. And then, again, with the Great Recession, you bought a house. If you had an adjustable rate mortgage, your interest rate, when you came into the mortgage, you could pay it. Maybe it was $1,200 a month. Then the interest rate goes up, and now you got $1,800 a month, and you're like, I can't afford that. And so then the banks, when they were struggling, they just came and snatched those houses, and then you're out in the street. So that Great Recession was probably one of the tougher times in my life. And again, I had to take care of myself. I was working 16 to 20 hours a day on my freelance writing just to try to keep the lights on. And I would, again, that went for 5 years for me. That was 5 years of struggle. And so and there are people who've been struggling themselves. They could tell you it's been 10, 15 years. And they might be working. A lady where I was, and she told me, I said, oh, so you do work on a night shift? I was asking her. She does housekeeping in the office, cleaning offices. She said, no. She said, oh, no. She said, this is my second job. I worked 3 jobs. I couldn't believe it. Working 3 jobs and barely keeping the lights on. That's what I'm saying. I was working 18, 20 hours a day and barely keeping the lights on. But I had to take care of myself. And my father was passing away of cancer at the time, and he had raised all 5 of us by himself. So it was very difficult. And if you don't take care of yourself, like I say, you don't know what's coming around the corner. That Great Recession came up out of nowhere. COVID came up out of nowhere. There are people who buried loved ones during COVID and maybe lost a job on top of it. So you have to take care of yourself, because when these things come, they can hit you, knock you off your feet, and it could take you years to climb back to your feet. So that's the inspiration behind Awakening Blessings of Inner Love.
And yes, and these times are hard. I mean, and I always say it again, find inspiration on some things. I remember one of my friends started to write, and sometimes she gets stuck on certain things, becoming a writer. Was her passion a long time ago, but now since, the job market is going wonky, she did got a job, and she's you can't go anywhere because of the shutdown and everything. Everybody's shutting down again. You open up, you're shutting down. Open up, shutting down. It's hard to have fun nowadays, but now she just turns into, journaling and writing. For inspiration on writers beginning, starting off, how do you begin starting writing, and what's your your tips?
And you know what? I was on Facebook. There's a Black authors group on Facebook, and somebody had posted a question. She said she had published 2 books and had 0 book sales, and I was sharing a lot of tips with her. And I said, if you do this, you should. I said, if you do this, you should be guaranteed to pick up some sales. So the first thing, like when I came out with my book Portia in 1998, and Portia tells a story of a defense attorney in Chicago. She grew up on the South Side. In the 1960s, her dad was involved in the civil rights movement. Her mother was like a Marva Collins teacher, and she's dealing with using her family and her faith and this wonderful, wonderful man to deal with breast cancer. It's a very uplifting, inspirational book. But when I came out before it came out, I did my research. I researched. So my first tip to a new writer, if you go in the radio, podcasting, what you're doing, anything, I would highly recommend that you research, because it's easy to slip into magical thinking where you think that just because I published a book or because I'm doing it, it's going to take off. It takes a lot of hustle. It takes a lot of hustle to gain traction, and most people who do will tell you how insanely they work. I knew a lady who she came out with a book. She lived up in the Princeton area. Letters that you would write to your younger self, or what you would say to your younger self, from what you've learned as you've aged. And she had worked with Oprah. That book, I think that book might have been like a New York Times bestseller for a while, but she had worked with Oprah Winfrey, and she said, you think it all we think it's magical. Will Smith has talked about this. You don't see the hustle. You just see the final product. And she said Oprah Winfrey works in insane amounts of work, like Tyler Perry does. Like, you think, does this guy sleep? She it's nothing for her to work 18 hours a day. Like, that's like an 8-hour day for her. And she said she couldn't keep it. She said she couldn't do it. She said it was just, Oprah's work ethic is maddening. She's very nice. She's very gracious and nice, but her work ethic is insane. So research it, because there's no magic wand out here. Research book writing, and then write every day. I just had a writer just was asked that, how do you do it? How do you write? You just have to prioritize it. Get up earlier in the morning if you have to. If you're juggling a family, get up before everybody else gets up, even if you just do an hour a day. Or can you carve out an hour or half hour on your lunch break? Can you stay up an hour later at night and write? Prioritize it and write something every day to really keep writer's block away. And if you have trouble with writing, switch it up. Maybe sometimes you're writing on a novel, then write a short story, or write a poem or a song, or do some journaling. But tell yourself you're going to finish that novel. The first draft, you just want to get the story down. It doesn't have to be grammatically perfect, because the editor should put their eyes on it anyway before you finish it. But just get that first draft down and say you're going to give yourself 3 to 6 months, and you're going to knock it out. So you have to, if you say I'm going to write 2 pages a day or a page a day, there you go. You just have to sit down, prioritize it, research the industry. The book publishing industry is changing, just like the record industry is changing. COVID is definitely going to switch up the movie industry. It's for sure.
Yes, and if you got any comments to talk about to our guests, feel free to talk about it. My number is 917-889-8825. Once again, it's 917-889-8825. The calling press one, speak to us. I'm now listening to you. If Baltimore Talking Live, we'll be right back with our guest in the hot seat, Denise Turney. We'll be right back in 2 and 2. Stick around.
Get my groove on. It's Friday. Friday, baby. And I'm gonna party, break